Hi everybody, welcome back. This is the second part of lesson 19.4, learning about triangles on pages 394 to 395 in your blue math book. Our homework is lesson 19.4, the challenge. A couple of things before you get started today. I would like you to have a pencil to use. You're going to need a clean sheet of paper. I also would like you to find for me your copy of the blue math book. And in your copy of the blue math book, I need you to find lesson 19.4 that talks about triangles. Now, it occurred to me when we were looking at this that this is a copy of your math book, but it's a copy in black and white. So what I did was I brought home one of our math books that is in color so that you can actually see the colors of the different triangles. I'm going to move this off to the side. You guys can follow along on your own page, but I'm going to go ahead and use the book so that you guys can see what color it is. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. Here we have 5 different triangles, and you'll see those on your paper as A, B, C, D, and E. I noticed that they all have different colors, and it says that Beverly and Armando sorted these triangles in different ways. Let's look and see what Beverly decided to do. Beverly decided to look at the length of the sides. She said that triangle A, all the sides were the same. Triangles B and E, only 2 sides were the same. And then over here with letters C and D, none of the sides were the same length. So she divided it up by what length of sides they had. Now, Armando decided to do something a little different. He decided to check out the angles in each triangle. Now, I wonder on letter B, it looks like he found a right angle. Let's see if it matches. Might check here. Yep, it matches perfectly. So he decided that triangle B and D had right angles. He decided that triangle C had an obtuse angle. And that triangle A and E had 3 acute angles. So he divided it into acute angles over here. So going back to both Beverly and Armando, Beverly decided to divide them all up by how many equal sides or the length of the sides, and Armando decided to divide the triangles and sort them by the types of angles. Both are the right way to do that. Now, I'm going to go back and remind people that we talked about a little bit earlier that we can talk about triangles, and triangles actually have 3 different names. Okay, before I get started, I am going to get my clean sheet of paper up here, and I'm going to get my name on there so we can go ahead and get started. Get my name so I know who it belongs to. And I'm also going to write what page we started on. We started on page 392. I'm going to use pen so it's easier for you guys to see what I'm writing. And I want to remind people that when we talk about triangles, I'm going to go ahead and remind myself here that a triangle can be described and has 3 different names. It has a first name, a middle name, and a last name. The last name, of course, is always triangle. It's always going to have the last name triangle. And the first name is always what kind of angle you might find in your triangle, the way that Armando decided to sort the triangles. And the middle name will always be the length of the sides in the triangle, kind of like what Beverly decided to do over there. Another quick little reminder. They're going to start by looking at naming triangles by their equal sides. So the first one we have here, I notice it's 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. We have an equilateral triangle. All sides are equal, equilateral. And then we have this shape, 3 centimeters here, 3 centimeters here. This one's only 2. 2 equal sides is an isosceles, and I see those 2 S's. 2 sides are the same. And the last triangle we have has a 3 centimeter side, a 4 centimeter side, and a 2 centimeter side. None of the sides are equal. We call that a scalene triangle. Okay, we can also name triangles by their angles. If we look carefully at this letter K, it does look like a right angle right here. These 2 angles look like acute angles, but we're going to call this a right triangle because there is one right angle. Look at this angle here. That's bigger than a right angle. It's obtuse. Even though this angle and this angle are small, We are going to call this an obtuse triangle because it does have one obtuse angle. And this triangle over here seems to have 3 little tiny angles in it. It's got 3 acute angles, so it's an acute triangle. Now, it asks, how are triangles J and M alike? How are they different? I'm going to look at J first. Here's J. I notice this one we said had no equal sides the same. And it looks to me like there's an acute angle here, acute angle here, and this one I need to check to see if that's an obtuse angle or a right angle. Let's check that one out up there. Let's see. Ooh, that's going to be close. That looks like it is a little bit bigger than a right angle, so that's an obtuse angle. Okay, so there is J. It looks to me like on this particular shape, they both have acute angles, some acute angles, and let's see how they're different. This shape looks like it has 2 sides that are equal. This one does not. So a little bit different. We have a scalene here. This one looks like it has 2 equal sides. This one has an obtuse angle. This one does not. So there are a few little differences between those two. Okay, now the idea that we've been talking about, naming triangles here, is you can name and sort triangles by their sides or their angles. I'm going to start with A for angle first when we do this. Okay, let's go ahead and come down here where we're going to check. And I notice over here on our page, we have several different triangles, many different triangles to look at. I see N, O, P, Q, and R, and some different colors and things like that. It says, describe triangle N by its sides, then describe by its angles. So let's take a look at this one. I'm going to go ahead and start my paper down here and go ahead and write number 1. Let's take a look at that. All right, number 1, we are describing triangle N. So I'm going to go ahead and start by giving it its names. First name, middle name, last name. I know it's going to be triangle for my last name. Okay, let's check it out. Now I'm curious as to that angle right there to see if that's a right angle. Let's start with our angles first. Oh, that fits perfectly. So we have a perfect right angle there, so this is going to be a right. Now let's look at the middle name, which is sides. We need to figure out what kind of sides it has. Now looking at the sides here, I'm going to probably say that this side and this side are the same length. This one's a little bit longer, so it looks like it has 2 sides that are the same. 2 sides that are the same, if I remember right up here, if you can't remember, all the words you need are spelled right up here. Okay, I see that word isosceles up here. That's the word I was looking for. So we have an isosceles triangle for number 1. So for number 1, letter N is a right isosceles triangle. Now for 2 through 5, it says use the triangles at the right. Write O, P, Q, or R. Okay, let's look at all of these over here and see if we can figure this out. I'm going to go ahead and write number 2 on my paper. Number 2 says, which triangles have 0 equal sides? Okay, let's look then. This should be fairly easy because they gave us the length of all the sides. Let's look at that. Okay. All right, I see 5 centimeters, 4, 3. Letter O does not have any equal sides, so letter O is 1. And then it says, let's see, I notice here we have 7 centimeters, 9, and 3. Letter R does not have any equal sides. Q has equal sides. All 3 are the same. Letter P only has 2 equal sides. So has 2 equal sides. So triangles that have no equal sides were O and R. Okay, let's look at number 3. Number 3 asks which triangle is an equilateral triangle. Now, if I remember right, an equilateral triangle up here all sides are equal. I'm looking up here, equilateral, all sides are the same. So let's look at our book right here, and when I look, letter Q seems to be the only one that I can see that has 3 sides that are the same. And let's look at number 4 over here. Number 4 says which triangles have 3 acute angles. Okay, we may need to look at this a little bit. I'm going to check this letter O because that looks like it might be a right angle right here in the corner. Let me see if this is a right angle. Yep, so letter O is a right triangle. It doesn't have acute angles. Look at this one right here. I think this angle back here looks like an obtuse angle, so I know it's not going to be R. Q looks like it has 3 acute angles. Those look all smaller than a right angle. And what else? Let's see. This one right here, these all look like acute angles to me. So for letter number 4, I believe it was triangles have 3 acute angles, letter Q, triangle Q, and triangle P. Okay, now we just talked about number 5 already. Let's go back and look at that again. Which triangle is obtuse? Okay, I think we thought about letter R, and I'm going to make absolutely sure that that's bigger than a right angle. Oh, definitely bigger. Look at that. Look how much bigger that is. Okay, so for number 5, letter R is our obtuse angle. Okay, I'm going to have you go ahead, and I apologize. I should have had you turn in your packet to the next page. I'm going to go ahead and turn in my packet. Look at the next page. We just did this part. Now I'm going to turn to this page, page 394, and let's take a look at our pages here. Okay, I'm going to turn my page here, page 394, and let's check it out over here. Okay, it says for number 6 through 8, use the triangles at the right. Okay, I'm going to fold my paper so that I can get to number 6. Still have room to write. Okay, so I'm going to go on to number 6. And these are 4 questions, 6, 7, and 8. It says use the triangles at the right. Which triangle is a scalene? Now I have to remember, when I looked before, a scalene is a triangle where none of the sides are the same. It looks to me like these 2 sides are going to be the same. And on letter B, I think all 3 sides are the same. Letter C doesn't look like any of those sides are the same. So I'm going to say letter C for number 6. Now, number 7, let's see what it asks us to do. We're going to be using the same triangles again. Which triangles have at least 2 equal sides? Now, when we tried the first question, we decided these 2 look equal and these look equal. So I think both A and B have at least 2 sides that are equal. A has 2, B has 3, but they both have at least 2 that are equal. Okay, and number 8. Number 8, it says, which triangle has 1 obtuse angle? Which triangle has 3 acute angles? So we have 2 answers for this one. Okay, which triangle has 1 obtuse angle? Now, if I had to guess, we looked here and we said, I'm going to make sure letter A. Yep, letter A is a right triangle. Okay, so it doesn't have an obtuse. This one, I can tell, doesn't have an obtuse angle. I think letter C. I'm going to see this angle right here. That looks bigger than a right angle to me, and I'm going to check it to make sure. Yep, way bigger than a right angle. Okay, so for letter 8, our first answer was C had an obtuse angle. And which triangle has 3 acute angles? Now, we said this was a right angle, so I know it's not A. This is obtuse, so it's got to be letter B. And if we look carefully, all 3 angles look like they are acute. Okay, now moving on down the page, we're looking at 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I'm just going to scoot along here. It says write 1 letter from each box to describe each triangle. Now, I'm going to start with number 9 here. And they want us to write 1 letter from each box. Now, I'm going to look at the boxes first. These look to me like they're describing the sides. Equilateral sides, isosceles, 2 equal sides, and scalene, no equal sides. And these look like they're talking about the angles. Okay, let's check number 9 first. Now, I'm going to start with the sides. It looks like they're talking about sides first. I see that every single side on number 9 is 2 centimeters. We said if all sides were the same, it was going to be an equilateral triangle. So my first letter is going to be A. And let's look again here. And this time I'm going to decide what kind of angles it has. Those look pretty small. I think that this has acute angles. That would be letter F. Okay, so we have one letter from each box. Let's go ahead and look at number 10. Number 10, let's start with the sides first. I'm going to let you look at your sides here. I see a 5, a 4, and a 3. None of the sides are the same. Think about what letter you're going to choose. Okay, if you said a letter C for scaling, you are correct. None of them are the same. Now let's decide on what kind of angle. Now I'm looking at this guy right here. I want to check that angle in the middle. Let's see, because I think it might be, yep, that matches that corner perfectly. Think about what kind of angle that is. If you said a right triangle, you are correct. Okay, let's try number 11. Number 11, let's start with our sides first. Now look, we have 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter. I see 2 sides that are the same. Think about which kind of triangle has 2 sides the same. If you said isosceles, letter B, you are correct. Now let's look back at the same triangle and we need to decide about what kind of angles it has. I'm looking at all 3 of those angles. Those look pretty tiny. Think about which kind of triangle that would be. If you said an acute triangle, you would be correct. Okay, and we have one more here. We have number 12. Let's take a look at this guy over here. Okay, now I'm kind of looking at this thing. I want to start with sides first. Now I notice on the sides we have a 3 centimeter, a 2 centimeter, and 4 centimeters. None of those are the same. Think about which kind of sides that would be when none are the same. If you said a scalene, you are correct. Now let's look at our angles. Now I've got a question about this one. The other 2 look pretty small, but I'm going to get my paper and check that one. That is bigger. It is bigger than a right angle. If it is bigger than a right angle, think about what kind of triangle that is. If it's larger than a right angle. If you said obtuse, you are correct. Okay, so we used the different descriptions for the sides and the angles to try those. Now, this time, they're going to actually have us, for number 13 through 15, they're going to actually have us write out whether it has equilateral sides, isosceles sides, or scalene sides. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting number 13 here, and I'd like to look at this. It has 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters. Okay, I'm looking over here. Can you think about what type of triangle that was? Equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. They're all the same. If you said equilateral, you are correct. And if you're not sure how to spell it, it is right up there. So I always tell my 3rd graders, if it spells it correctly here, you should be able to get correctly written down here. Okay, that was number 13, equilateral sides. Okay, let's go on to number 14. Number 14, take a look. What kind of sides? See, 4 centimeters, 6 centimeters, 8 centimeters. None of those are the same. Think about what kind of triangle that is, where none of them are the same. If you said scalene, you were correct. Okay, so scalene is spelled right here if you're not sure. Okay, and let's take a look at number 15. Now number 15, I notice it says 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. Kind of hard to see. 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters. What do you guys think? Equilateral, isosceles, or scalene? Well, if you said isosceles, you were correct. Isosceles. Okay, so we talked about sides in this one. Now we're going to come down through 16 through 18. This time they want us to tell what kind of angle it is. So we have number 16. I'm going to write it right here. Number 16, they want to know if it's a right angle, an obtuse angle, or an acute angle. So right, obtuse, or acute. Let's look at number 16. Okay, now, oh, I see somebody in this math book last year wrote in the book. Look at that. They knew what it was. Okay, just for fun, I am going to get my paper and I'm going to stick it in there. Yep, look at that. It matches perfectly. So, what kind of triangle is this? Do we have a right, obtuse, or acute? Now, if you said we had a right triangle, you would be correct. And somebody put a little square in there. They shouldn't have been writing their book. Okay, so that was number 16. Let's look at number 17. Right triangle, obtuse triangle, or acute. And I'm looking at all of these little angles right here. Not worried about the sides. We're looking at the angles this time. None of those look very big. They all look very small. So what do we think it's going to be? If you think it's an acute, I am going to agree with you. An acute triangle. Okay. And last but not least, number 18. Let's take a look at that. Now, they want to know what kind of angles we have here. Do they have a right, obtuse, or an acute? Now, I'm going to check. This angle looks very small to me. This one looks small. This is the one I'm kind of worried about. I'm going to check this guy and see. Okay, now he is bigger than a right angle. That's bigger than a right angle. Now think about what we said. If it is bigger than a right angle, what do we call that? If you said obtuse, you are correct. You are correct. Okay. Now, I'm going to go down here to numbers 19 and 20. And this is going to be the last part of what we're looking at today. Okay. And this is the one I was most concerned about because on your paper, it is not color. And we do need to know that this triangle is blue. This one is red. We have red and then a green line in there. So this is one of the reasons I wanted to use this book today. It says for 19 and 20, use the diagram at the right. Okay, it says Miss Lou has a garden with paths that are equilateral triangles. The shortest path from A to C is the green path. Which path is longer, the blue path or the red path? Okay, let's explain. Okay, let's take a look at our problem today. I'm going to make sure I've got space down here to work on it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to look at my paths first. I'm going to fold my paper again so I have some room down here. Okay, let's look at our paths over here first. It says the shortest path from A to C is the green path. Now let's look at the green path right here. I see it going from here. And I also notice that it tells us how long it is on the green path. From point A to point E, so we're looking at line segments, this is 4 feet. And then from point E to point C is 2 feet. So I'm going to start with that first. This is going to be for number 19. And I notice that we had 4 feet. And then we had 2 more feet as we went across. Now, if I add those up, that was a total of 6 feet. That's the shortest path. Now, what they want us to do is figure out which one is longer, the blue path or the red path. Explain. Okay. Now, wait a minute. let's take a look at the blue path here. Now I notice that down here, this triangle here, I see it's 6 feet from point A to point C. Look at your triangle here. What kind of triangle do we have there, do you think? This says 6 feet from here to here. I think we have a triangle that has 3 sides that are the same length, like an equilateral triangle. Do you agree with that? So if this bottom side is 6 feet, how much is this one here? If you said 6 feet, I'm going to agree with you. If this is 6 feet and this is 6 feet, how long is this guy? I agree with you if you said 6 feet. Okay, so let's look here. So this is for the blue triangle. I'm going to go ahead and write this down here. This is for the blue triangle. I had 6 feet on the bottom, added to 6 feet on one side, added to 6 feet on the other side. Now if I add up 6 3 times, don't I get 18 feet? Okay, so I know that the blue is 18 feet. Now, let's look at our red path. Now the red path is a little bit different. It does have some triangles in here again, and look at your red here. And I'm noticing from here to here on this triangle is 4 feet. And it looks like another equilateral triangle to me. So if this side is 4 feet, what about this one? 4 feet, and what about this side then? Do you agree with me? Do all those look like they're 4 feet? Okay, so there's 4 feet. Let's try this. This is the red one now. This is my red triangle. And I notice I had 4 feet added to 4 feet, added to 4 feet, but I'm not done yet. I still need to look at this part of the triangle. Now I notice from here to here, and this triangle is 2 feet. This looks like another equilateral triangle, so I think 2 feet. If this is 2 feet, what's this side going to be? 2 feet again, and what about this side? 2 feet. So we also have some more to add here. I have plus 2 feet, plus 2 more feet, plus 2 more feet. Let's see how much that gives me. I'm going to count by 4s. So I have 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, blue was 18. Red is 18. Now let's go back and look at our question here. Which path is longer, the blue path or the red path? Explain. What did we just find out? Okay. They're both the same. Okay. Let's see. What are we going to write about this? Both paths are the same length. Okay. And the only difference that I see is the red path used triangles that had smaller lengths. The red path had smaller length triangles. I also noticed that the blue triangle and the red triangles all shared one side. Okay. I'm going to also make a note of that. The side that was shared was 6 feet total. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop there with our assignment today, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to our homework today. Now, let me explain about the homework today, guys. Thanks for keeping up with me in there. The homework that you guys had is Challenge 19.4, and it's called a triangle tally. And this is going to be kind of tricky because it is asking you to have index cards and scissors and pencils and rulers and all that stuff. So this is what I'm going to have you guys do instead. Instead of cutting out all the triangles, this is what I'm going to have you guys do. I'm going to have you guys grab your book. Okay, take a look at this, at the pages that we just looked at. We looked at this page. We looked at this page. Okay, there were lots of different triangles on all the pages that we looked at today. So I'd like you to keep those triangles in mind today while we work. Instead of making and cutting out your different triangles, what I want you to do on your assignment today is trace the triangles. Let me get my highlighter out if I can find it. Instead of cutting out your triangles, what I am going to have you do is not worry about this part, but I am going to have you trace the triangles onto your paper, on this paper, and put our results on the tally below. Okay, so I'm going to go look and see if I can find a triangle on my papers somewhere here that had no equal sides. Well, let's see if I can find one that had no equal sides. Ooh, right away I spotted one right there. There's also one right here. I think I'm going to try this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my paper over that triangle, and hopefully we'll be able to see through. That's kind of tough to see. My paper is a lot thicker, but if I were to trace it, it would look like this, and I'd have 3 centimeters, 5 centimeters, and 4 centimeters. I just drew a triangle that had no equal sides. Now I need to find a triangle that had 2 equal sides. Now if I look back again at my papers, ooh, there's one right here that had 2 equal sides, and I'm going to trace that one. It's kind of hard to see it through my paper. Okay, and I noticed it had 4 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 3 centimeters. Okay, so I just found a triangle that had 2 equal sides. Okay, now I'm also going to kind of cross this out here. What I would like you to do to finish up your homework today is go through your book, look and see if you can find a triangle that had 3 equal sides and trace it for me. You can even write down the length of the sides. And then I'd like you to go through and find a triangle that has a right angle and trace it, an obtuse angle and trace it, and 3 acute angles and trace it. And that's it for your homework. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions about anything, please let myself, Mrs. Duncan, or Miss Comers know. Thank you guys and have a good day.